So I'm really excited to be doing this. I didn't have a launch party and there's no reading at AWP, so this is the big one. And thank you all for coming instead of the State of the Union, which is apparently happening now. I promise that you will laugh a little, at least a little during this, because everything's on fire. And yeah, so I will be reading humor stories tonight. Up first is one that's in my chapbook. It was originally in Ellipsis Scene. It's called Don't You Worry, There's Still Time. Every Tuesday night at 7:15, my favorite bar plays You Wouldn't Like Me by Tegan and Sara. I go mostly so I can be transported back to my shitty college years, really self-flagellate before my friends arrive. They're tired of me replaying events for the millionth time and making adjustments big and small. I have about 15 minutes until they show, but I look around just in case. That's when I see him, my ex-boyfriend, Daniel, lounging by the fire like he has any business being in my small town when all he wanted was fame. New York, LA, anywhere he'd get paid to pose, maybe while saying words for money. The gap between us is closing. My feet are moving like I'm a fish that bit into a lure. I'm following where the line leads. Up close, I can tell it's not Daniel, it's almost him. It's his doppelganger, his dark-haired, bearded doppelganger. And okay, this guy's head is a little rounder and he's got a bit of a stomach, but I never cared about those kinds of things. Hey, I say. I hate the sound of my voice, breathy and desperate. The Tegan and Sara song starts with a chord strummed quickly twice, then again and again before the lyrics kick in. I flinch. Identifying with this song in front of him is humiliating. All my angst and self-loathing are floating on sound waves around us. Hi, not Daniel says. He's clearly waiting for someone who's not me. The low lighting and the flicker of the fire make his face, the one I know so well, seem mysterious. Sorry to bother you, I say. Do you mind if I sit with you while I wait for my friends? The last time I was here alone, I got harassed, but you seem cool. Even the way he bobs his head for yes is identical to Daniel. Sure, not Daniel says. He's unsure, but just as invested and outmoded, mostly symbolic chivalry as Daniel. He limply smiles. He's waiting for a woman. I lean my elbows onto the table to get a better look. Same medium lips, same thick, non-arched eyebrows. His eyes even have the same lightning circle of white around the pupils, unnoticeable unless you've really gazed into them, searching for the mysteries they hold. But his beard is dark, and Daniel's too lazy to dye his beard. That's how I know for sure he's not Daniel. They're like the Hitler clones in The Boys from Brazil. I picture an army of ex-boyfriends destroying cities with their behavioral indecision and insistence that the Shins are the greatest band ever. I shake off that thought. Where are you from? Philadelphia. So they're probably not related. How'd you end up here? His face colors, a sign of a story if there ever was one. Needed to change. Kind of a random place. Yeah, I did the same thing, I offer. It's a postcard town. He looks at me funny, like he knows what I'm talking about. Wonder if I'm the doppelganger of someone he once loved. If my questions are rattling him as much as his presence is rattling me. I mean, look at this place, I say. The brick floor, the beaten floor, sorry, the brick door, the beaten floors. If you scuff the floor, nobody could tell because these floors are older than the country. Not Daniel chuckles. I'll tell my girlfriend. She likes factoids. What else does she like? He thinks, really squints into the distance like he's scanning the past for any detail he can grip onto. Grilled cheese, gross. Martinis, ick. Always finishing the chapter of the book she's reading before taking a break. Respect. She sounds cool. She is. That's great, I say warmly. It speaks well of a man when he loves the person he's with. His eyes bulge like my hands are around his neck. He tries to cover it up with a smirk at my overstepping, but I've seen under the mask. He may be not Daniel, but he's still Daniel. I think it's a little early to say that. How long has it been? He scratches his neck beard. 2 months, officially. Unofficially? He shifts, says, that's pretty personal, and gulps his beer. You're right, I say. Sorry. Here I am apologizing to this motherfucker for something that isn't really my fault and certainly isn't something he understands. His entire life is a neckbeard itch, and the women in his life watch for clues because they can't get the truth they crave instead. They'll never be satisfied. No worries, he says. Hey, do you want a drink? The waiter drops off my blood orange cider and I glance up at not Daniel. Do you believe in fate? He smirks. No, I do, I say, shrugging, if only because it makes life a little more magical. So your life isn't magical? Generally, no. He leans in and whispers, maybe you should do something about that. My breath catches in my throat and I choke on nothing. My body is panicking before my brain can follow. I become aware of the moisture collecting under my armpits and the way he knows just how to make me feel like a piece of shit. I recognize that. I remember that. His girlfriend arrives in a cloud of strong floral perfume. She looks like me, cranky and half sure she's in the wrong place. But she's not me. I never call someone babe, even if I was trying to claim a man. She's weary but jealous, and rightly. She knows she doesn't have him. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your night, I say. I just didn't want to wait alone. My almost doppelganger nods skeptically as I rise to find a new seat. I order another cider and tap my knuckles against the table. That's when I notice. My song ended a while ago. So when Diane told us about this reading, she said, you have 15 minutes. And as some of you who've read my chapbook may be aware, my chapbook is 44 pages. And it takes about a minute to read a page. And 15 pages is roughly a third of my chapbook. So I thought it might be nice to read something that is not in my chapbook in the middle of 2 chapbook stories. So I will be reading a story that was in Chestnut Review last fall. It's called, Am I the Asshole for Falling Apart at a Dinner Party? My newly vaxxed friends and I, 28F, gathered for the first dinner party since the pandemic started. My friend, 29F, was hosting with her new husband, 29M, who she tied the knot with during the pandemic in a small ceremony in their living room. It was great to see them so in love. It seemed like everyone had taken the time to improve themselves. Someone, 28M, was now fluent in Mandarin. Someone else, 30F, mastered the art of French cooking, said she could spank Julia Child in the kitchen. Another person, 32F, had gotten in shape during quarantine and had to buy new, smaller pants. None of my pants fit for the opposite reason. Sweats are all I had left. I knew my friend would object to me wearing that to her dinner party with tapered candlesticks. Tapered candles and gold candlesticks, wedding presents from her aunt and uncle. So I had to wear an elastic waist skirt hiked higher, which made it shorter than I would have preferred. I felt kind of exposed. I'd been holding myself together with paper clips and a prayer for the last 8 months. It was becoming strange. What about you? The Mandarin master asked me. What did you do? It was like being in high school with a teacher calling on me because he knew I hadn't done the homework and was hoping he could embarrass me into feeling better about himself. And not only had I not learned anything during quarantine, but it turned out I hadn't learned anything from high school either. I just stared at the Mandarin master until someone cleared their throat and changed the subject. I was doing my best to smile and cheer everyone's successes when my right eyebrow fluttered off my face and into my neighbor's gazpacho. No one noticed. My neighbor kept slurping soup. My left eyebrow soon followed to the floor. Okay, eyebrows I can live without. That's what Sephora is for. But then my nose dropped onto my lap and my hand covered my face like I was trying to cover my full mouth while speaking. There were no holes where my nose was. It was like I'd never had one. My friend kept talking about her wedding, all the things that couldn't be captured in the numerous Facebook photo albums. When my left ear slipped off, I heard everyone's muffled voices from the floor where the C curve of my ear cheekily peeked up at me. Fortunately, my pandemic locks covered for me. My mouth went next, my red lips and my lap puckering as if for a kiss that would never come now. The newly fit person noticed me pushing food around my plate and said, "You didn't develop an eating disorder, did you? There are better ways to lose that weight." Everyone chuckled. I shook my head slightly, afraid to disturb more body parts. But I lost my second ear. My double D breasts, one by one, plopped onto my legs before toppling onto the floor in two loud slaps. "What was that?" my friend mouthed. Everyone looked around. My eyes chose this moment to pop out like ping pong balls and bounce across the table. Through my detached eyes, I saw the horror on my friends' faces as they understood. Chairs ground against the floor as they worked to flee me. My floor ears could distantly hear the screaming and dithering. My friends were so out of practice with tragedy that they didn't know what to do. My hair dropped to the floor like a game of pickup sticks, inciting a fresh round of screams. Thankfully, they sounded more hurt than I felt, although I was running out of body parts. I kept thinking I would break apart like a Barbie, but then thinking wasn't a problem anymore. My head lolled off and rolled away smooth like a honeydew. As someone dialed 911, my friend said, "You ruined my dinner party." Am I the asshole? So I'd like to thank Diane again for that introduction, because it actually does introduce my last story pretty well, which was the maturity quiz. It's one of my favorites. It was originally in McSweeney's Internet Tendency, and it actually was retitled for the chapbook. So it's called Quiz. How mature are you? Circle the answer that best fits your response. Be honest. 1. When a coworker steals your lunch, you A. Emit a guttural scream. Ask what man committed this crime. Lecture the entire office on boundaries. Your bark is worse than your bite, but they don't know that. B. Hunt down the motherfucker who ate your pastrami sandwich. Tell him to keep his hand at the level of his eye when he walks to the parking garage tonight. C. Go home. Take a nap under a blanket for it. D. Find the person eating your lunch and tell him that if he wanted you to make him a sandwich, all you had to do was ask. You'd be more than happy to pack for two sometimes. Maybe Fridays? E. Remind everyone that you labeled your lunch. For the next few days, go out to eat. Watch the thief wither without your delicious food. 2. When that bitch in your book club calls you a space cadet, you A. Tell her to fuck off. You know you want to. You've been so patient with her hater ass. You deserve a little release. B. Stab her hand with a fork. Shatter a metacarpal. Feel how your ancestors must have felt when they conquered worlds. C. Freeze and replay everything you've ever said or done that could make her think that. Sift through hours and hours of footage. By the time you remember you're in a room full of people, no one remembers what she said. D. Tell her she's right. You are totally spacey. You should probably work on that. E. Ignore her. This can look like C, but it's intentional. 3. When a friend asks for help moving, even though she knows you have back problems, you A. Call her a shitty friend. Why can't she remember the basics about you? What is wrong with her? B. Slap her until she remembers that you're always in pain. C. Tell her you're busy that day. D. Help her and injure yourself, but don't say anything. Spend hundreds of dollars on chiropractor treatments just to get back to your normal pain level. E. Remind her that you can't lift. Offer to bring bagels or lunch to make her move more enjoyable. 4. When your mother obsesses over the weight you gained since your high school graduation 15 years ago, you A. Call her a bitch. You also randomly talk about your body without prompting. Tell her we can't all have eating disorders, Karen. B. It's mostly muscle. Cardio kickboxing is going really well. Tell her the next time you see her, you can kick her ass until she gets the right idea. C. Say nothing. You can feel your healthy dinner rapidly putrefying in your stomach, but it's a free country. You can't tell her what she can and can't say. That would be fascist. She's entitled to her opinion, even when it makes you cry in the shower before work. D, tell her she's right. You have gained weight, but you're working on it. Going to the gym 5 days a week and eating healthy. Your body changed. You're trying to do better. E, you didn't ask for her opinion and you don't want it. Tell her if she can't say anything nice, she shouldn't say anything at all. 5, when your boyfriend says he wants to move in, but you're not ready, you A, pick a fight. How could you move in with someone who still can't manage to clean the sink after shaving? You've asked him a million times. It's like he doesn't even care enough to try. B, throw him out. A window, the front door, whatever's closest to the garbage. C, break up with him. Don't tell him why. You obviously want different things, and talking about it will only muddy the waters. D, tell him yes, yes, a million times, yes. Feel that pebble in your stomach grow into a boulder gathering speed down a hill toward an elementary school. Never voice your doubts or reveal your newfound anxiety-related constipation. It will only make him worry. E, tell him that his lease being up isn't a good reason to move in together. You told him you needed space after the miscarriage. No more secretly picking out names or looking up just how big it would be. A poppy seed, blueberry, green olive. You were going to throw out all your future plans for him and an apple seed. Without the apple seed, moving in together seems like a rash act. You haven't even known each other that long, 4 months. You want to be smart. You hope you can respect that. Results. Mostly A. You may have some issues around impulsivity and aggression that you should look into with a qualified therapist. Mostly B. Physical abuse isn't cute. Get yourself to anger management before a court mandates it. Mostly C. Bottling up all your feelings isn't healthy, and hiding from the world won't solve your problems. You need to learn how to draw boundaries and ask for what you want. Mostly D. There's something called fawning that you might want to look into. Stop catering to other people so much. You're responsible for your own happiness, not everyone else's. Mostly E. Congratulations, you're basically a Zen master. You don't need that lavender bubble bath, but maybe run it anyway. Check out this new bath bomb from our sponsor. You deserve it for dealing with A through D's bullshit. And those are my pieces for the night. Thanks again for coming.